Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Von Doom. I'm here to tell you that I have played Elden Ring, and my conclusion is it is not good. It is fantastic. It is a really awesome game. This is my full review of FromSoft's most recent addition to their wonderful Souls games, Elden Ring. Before we get into the game, I want to tell you guys about my FromSoft journey because it's going to transition into a point that I want to make about Elden Ring. So, I started playing FromSoft games when I first got Bloodborne. I played it because one of my buddies recommended it to me. He said it's one of the greatest games he's ever played. I played the game, didn't like it, turned it off. I didn't play that game for a very, 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 very long time. It wasn't until I started streaming and my homie started streaming Bloodborne and he started streaming Dark Souls 3. And Dark Souls 3, I was really into like medieval things. I'm a big Final Fantasy buff, so I really like the medieval aesthetics and stuff like knights and dragons and all that other stuff. Bloodborne really wasn't my stilo. That's urban talk for style. It really wasn't my style because I wasn't really into the Victorian type of like aesthetic that it had, the atmosphere. I really wasn't into it, and it was really difficult. But I decided to buy Dark Souls 3, and I myself started streaming it. Ooh, we finna get into some trash now. What? What? It's already trash. This game is already trashing me up. I played it, I beat it, and I thought it was a wonderful game. And after playing Dark Souls 3, after getting used to the game and how it is, a lot of people were telling me a lot of these games are pretty much, they have the same formula, they have the same format. Some things change here, some things change there. So I decided to give Bloodborne a second try. Bloodborne is now one of my favorite games ever. It's a really awesome game, and in my opinion, it stands the test of times when it comes to video games. It's more of an aggressive Dark Souls. There's not too much guarding. There's not too much. It's not slow paced at all. It's really fast paced. The story is probably, in my opinion, I think Bloodborne is FromSoft's what do they call it? It's the magnum opus. Now we gotta beat this son of a bitch. It's their highest peak. It's their peak. You know what I'm saying? The story is amazing. The combat is amazing. Everything is amazing. But this isn't about Bloodborne. This is about Elden Ring. I bring all of this up to say that I think the problem with people playing FromSoft games that haven't played FromSoft games is that they don't finish them because they're difficult. But I urge people to just keep on trying, keep on going. Because once you finish a FromSoft game, you cannot stop. That's what I've witnessed. And that's what I've witnessed in Elden Ring. Once you finish a FromSoft game, you understand what a FromSoft game is, what it does, and then you want to play more. And I believe that Elden Ring is going to be that gateway FromSoft game for casuals. A lot of people, a lot of casuals, I've noticed on Twitter, they say they play the game, they run into Tree Sentinel, get the trash beat out of them, turn it off, refund it. It's too hard. It's not fair. All of that other stuff, right? The irony is they think it's too hard and it should be easy. There should be like an easy mode. Which brings me to say, there is so much in this game that can make the game easier for casuals. But they don't understand the format of FromSoft games. FromSoft games, the developers don't want you, they don't want to hand stuff out to you like that. At least in the situation of making an easy mode, a medium mode, or a hard mode. There's a way to make the games easy, but you have to discover that. You have to find out for yourself. That's the whole idea of FromSoft games, is for you to go out and explore the game, experience the game for yourself. And you can find things to your advantage in order to make the game funner, make the game easier, make the game better. So let's get into what you can do to make this game easier as a casual. So first off, if you go and you start the game, you run into the tree sentinel, you're like, oh my gosh. People usually think that if you go into the tree sentinel, you have to fight him, you have to beat him. No, it's an open world game. You can go out and you can discover and you can find easier bosses via dungeons, via catacombs, all that other stuff, to where you can actually level up the game or level up your character, find better weapons, find better armor, and then you can go back and fight certain bosses that may have been tough before. Prime example is the tree sentinel. Everybody really gets toughed out, beaten the trash out of by the tree sentinel, right? The tree sentinel is telling you there's so much out there that you can explore. Margit tells you the same exact thing. But I believe Margit was there for hardcore players, for people that have been with FromSoft games like from the jump, or have just been started that are experienced in certain FromSoft games. So the way you can make the game easier, like I said, via dungeons, catacombs, they also give you spirit summons. Spirit summons, you have the wolf. I think you get the wolf spirit summon to start off before you get to Margit, I think, around Stormvale Castle or something like that. Those actually help you out in battle. Not just NPCs, those been there. You can have NPCs that actually help you out in boss fights, but now you have spirit summons that can help you out in boss fights that make the game way more easier, right? You also have dung beetles that have you have the dung beetles that give you ashes of war, which are weapon arts that you can use for your weapons. But you also have the dung beetles that have the flasks that have the little I don't know how to describe them, but they have the red dung beetles and the blue dung beetles, where if you hit them, it'll replenish your flasks. That gives you more of an incentive to keep exploring the world. Casuals wouldn't know that, but regular FromSoft players, usually you will have to go back to the bonfire or whatever, or go back to the hunter's dream in order to replenish yourself. But here you have these dung beetles that gives you replenish your flasks, your health flasks, or your magic flasks, and that way gives you more of an incentive to explore the world more rather than go back here and then start all over. Which brings me to even more of an easier mechanic is the fast travel. Never in a game have I seen fast traveling be done. The game gives you fast travel in the beginning of the game. For an example, I play a lot of Final Fantasy games. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Usually, in the beginning of the game, you start out walking throughout the world, and then throughout the game, you get ways to travel faster, like chocobos, boats, and at the end of the game, you usually get an airship where you can travel all over the world whenever you want to. Usually, that's like a reward for sticking through the game, being able to explore the game, being able to experience the game, experience the story, stuff like that. Elden Ring gives you that opportunity straight up in the beginning of the game. You have your gray spots. Whatever gray spots you have, you can fast travel right there. I thought in the beginning of the game, fast travel was going to deter from using Torrent. But not only that, Torrent gets you to the gray spots even faster. So you don't go traveling like having to freaking struggle traveling through all over the game. You can just go wherever you want. Boom. And not only that, because of fast travel, it gives you even more of an incentive to explore the areas that you're in. Go even use Torrent to do whatever you want, because no matter what, if something's going down, you can do fast travel and go wherever you want. Boom, right there. You know what I mean? So that makes the game, even like when it comes to exploration, it makes the game easier. You have things like combat that spirit summons. You have the dung beetles. Also, when it comes to combat, that gives you more of an incentive to explore the game, that makes things a lot more easier. You have certain places in the game where you can fight certain enemies, and then when you beat the enemies, it replenishes your health flasks. So even when you do that, so the game really gives you the opportunity. It's not going to just hand you a difficulty level that you can just push and be like, okay, it's on easy mode, or okay, it's on medium mode. The game literally tells you, you can have an easy mode if you want to, but you have to be able to do it yourself. What's the point of an open world game if the game hands you everything? The open world game, also combined with the FromSoft game, is all about exploration and finding things. So those are different ways that you can make the game way more easier. But yeah, and all that ties into what I said in the beginning, that if you just stick with the game and you utilize all the things that the game actually gives you and wants you to figure out and wants you to explore, it'll make the game way much better. It'll make the game way much easier. Also, you have to be smart in how you level up your character, whatever build you want to do. All those things that the game gives you and all those opportunities that you have, yes, you might have to figure them out, but they're there. And if you just stick with the game, you'll experience the world in a whole different light, and the games will start to become really awesome to you. And then you'll start to be like, hey, if this game is this good and I'm having so much fun, I might want to try all the other FromSoft games. And I think that's what the developers were thinking. And that's why I believe the developers gave so much, gave the game so much stuff for casual players to be able to use. You got a lot of these elites that are like, oh, get good, blah, 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 and all that other stuff. Nah, man, like, you got to start from the bottom. I got my one homie that, me and him are doing co-ops and stuff. And I'm just walking him through the game. And he's never played a FromSoft game before. And it's funny because my man gets frustrated all the time. But the more we play the game and the more I guide him through boss fights and stuff like that, the more fun he has. And the more he calls me talking about, yeah, I did this and I did that, and I want to explore more. So you just have to walk through the video game, and you have to just stick with it. And the more you get into it, the better things will level up. You're just not going to start a game at a level 100 or just be out here whacking people just like that. That's not how the game's going to work. That's not how a FromSoft game works. The game's not going to hand you an easy mode, you know? You have to be able to stick with the game. And once you stick with the game, you'll truly love it. And I think the idea that the developers were trying to get in Elden Ring is for casual players and newcomers to play the game, figure it out, enjoy it, and then move on to other FromSoft games. Here's my theory. Because I know a lot of casual players played the game, it was too difficult, and then they returned it, took it back, whatever. Gave bad reviews, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think they're really worried about that, because they're probably more focused on the casual players that stick with the game, enjoy the game, and then move on to play the other FromSoft games. See what I'm saying? So the loss from the casuals that might have quit might balance out to the casuals that will buy the other FromSoft games because they enjoyed Elden Ring so much, got used to how FromSoft games are by Elden Ring, and then want to experience the rest of the FromSoft games because they enjoyed Elden Ring so much, because of how they've given you the opportunity to make the game easier with spirit summons, with the dung beetles, with having the enemies. You beat the enemies, you get the flask, the replenish. All of that, co-op, helping out with bosses, there's so much opportunity to make the game easier for you. And once they enjoy that and get into that, they'll probably be like, okay, maybe I can try this a little better. Maybe I can do a run where I don't use summons. Maybe I can do a run where I don't use so much armor. I don't have this power. Maybe I can challenge myself into making the game, like playing the game where it might be initially played, like it's supposed to be played. Well, I'm not going to say the way it's supposed to be played, because you can play the game, at least Elden Ring, any way you want to, and it's legit. Like, you can't really get into those you can't really get into like the elites that talk about the game is supposed to be made this way, because if that's the case, then they wouldn't put all these opportunities and all these different mechanics in the game. You know what I'm saying? So that is my theory on it. I believe the developers made the idea that they're going to make the game as easy, like give them opportunities to make the game easier so they can enjoy it. And when they enjoy it and they experience the game, they're going to want to play other FromSoft games. I think that's they'll sacrifice the casuals that take the game and then return it for the casuals that actually enjoy the game and move on to other FromSoft games. I think it's going to balance itself out. That's just my thing, right? Cool. We got that out of the way. I know that was long, but it's whatever. Let's talk about the experience that I've had. Okay, let's talk about the open world part of it, right? Open world. It was really awesome. My first playthrough, I explored as much as I could. I got about 180 something, almost 200 hours into the game. I have it on PC and I have it on my PlayStation 5. It's a dope game in my opinion. Like, it has absurd replay value. It's absurd because like it would have because I know there's a lot of people that may or may not have explored the full extent of the game. I've explored as much as I could on my first playthrough, as much as I could. I didn't got all the dungeons. I didn't got all the bosses. I didn't got most of the armor. I don't have all the armor. There are some quests in my first playthrough that I kind of like skipped. I accidentally missed the assassination quests in Volcano Manor because I went straight and killed Rykard, right? But there's so much in this game that you can do that you'll never be bored with this game. There are some gripes that a lot of players have with the certain reskins of certain bosses and stuff. I guess I can understand that. It really didn't mess me up. I didn't really care too much about that. But there was so much to explore and I was ready to explore it. There's so much to do in this open world that I was never bored. I was always entertained. I was looking forward to the next thing I could find, because, you know, since FromSoft games, you discover the world and the lore through items and boss fights and stuff like that. I was just always interested in what I would find next and what armor I would get, the descriptions of certain armor, certain weapons. Just looking at the world and the different NPCs and the different enemies that are in the world, I'd be like, oh, these guys must be here for this type of reason. Or like, oh, I wonder why all these Crucible Knights are here. Or, oh, what's this Banished Knight like? What's his story? Why is he here? Or, oh, I wonder why these trolls are up in here for some reason. Oh, why are these guys shooting out yellow fire out of their eyes? I wonder what the lore is about this certain region of the game, you know? Oh, look at all these dragons. Oh, that dragon here, he's got fire stuff. Oh, this dragon here, he's iced out. Oh, this dragon here, he sprouts poison. I wonder what the lore is about the world. So the exploration for me was really awesome, because it reveals more about the lore and the world story-wise, and I thought it was really awesome. But it also deters. This is the one gripe I have about the open world. There's so much in the game that you want to do and you want to explore. In my opinion, it deters a little bit from the story, but we'll get into that later. But besides that, man, I enjoyed it, man. I was really impressed. I really just like going around exploring things and getting new items and leveling up and fighting different enemies and stuff like that. I was thoroughly impressed. I was really, really impressed. So that's me. So let's get into the bosses though. So like I said, I've played a bunch of FromSoft games. I done played Dark Souls 3. I done played Bloodborne. I'm playing Demon Souls right now. I still want to play Dark Souls 1. I played Sekiro. So I pretty much know how things go when it comes to the combat and the bosses. My first playthrough in my new game plus, cause like I don't care what niggas say. Like, I was using them spirit summons, not because like I thought the bosses were difficult. It's because it's just fun to me. I just thought it was fun. Like me, I'm more of a fun guy. I'm not really too much of a elitist. You know, I fought a couple of bosses by myself without like the summons and all that stuff, but I was really more geared into the story rather than like the challenge of the thing. My new game plus, I just went story, just straight up story bosses with the summons. This time I'll probably new game plus 3. I'll probably just do by myself. But me, one thing you should know is I come from the fighting game community. I'm a avid competitive fighting game player, and I've been playing fighting games since I was like 5. My first game console was the Game Boy, the big brick with the green screen. The first 2 games I ever had was Legend of Zelda and Street Fighter 2. So I've been playing games fighting games since I was 5. I say all that to say, fighting games, or I should say FromSoft games, are kind of like fighting games. So I'm kind of used to difficulty, and I'm kind of used to like being beat up. So that really didn't deter me from the video game, because when you play fighting games, it's you and the player, and you have to test your skill between your opponent. And if you get beat up, you go back, look at the videos, you see how you adapt with your character and how to beat that person and how to outplay them. Look at the matchups, see what see what character you have, see what your advantages are, see what their advantages are. I mean, it's chess. It's for real chess. And it's lightweight, like FromSoft games are lightweight, no different. You have your character, you have your build, you have your advantages, the boss has their advantages, you have your weakness, the boss has their weakness. If you get beat up in a certain way, the boss has a certain way they play, you have a certain way you play. And if you lose a lot, you just have to adapt. Figure out how to get your opponent to figure out your opponent's disadvantages and capitalize off of it. It's no different. So when it comes to bosses and the difficulty and stuff like that, I'm not really deterred from it. In fact, it's more of a challenge for me. The challenge for like the bosses and stuff, that's cool. I'm not really tripping off of that, right? So in that aspect, like I said, I know earlier I said I was using summons and stuff, but in that aspect, as in trying to find the strategy to beat your bosses, that's cool. I like that type of challenge because I'm already used to it. The bosses, in my opinion, I really enjoyed them. I like them more for their story. Radon was crazy. Margit is, in my opinion, one of my favorite bosses. And I like him because he gives you a really deep challenge if you're, well, I wouldn't say deep, but he gives you kind of he kind of gives you a challenge if you're a FromSoft, like if you play FromSoft games, because his whole objective is to deter you from playing how you regularly play a FromSoft game. Like if you're used to playing Dark Souls, he completely mixes the stuff up. He delays his attacks. That mixes you up and stuff. Like you think, oh, he's gonna do this, then I'm gonna roll. Nah, he ain't even hit you yet because he's still winded up. You finish your roll, bow, got you. He does an attack, you think he's finished with his attack. Nah, he hit you with the gold joints, pow pow, hit you with it. It's Margit was developed to mix up Souls players. and I thought that was really awesome. He's one of my favorite bosses. Like I said, Radon was wild. That man was crazy. I thought he was fun. He was a really cool guy. I truly detested Melania. Oh man. Now that boss fight, I was like, bruh, that one exhausted me. I was like, out of all the bosses I enjoyed, I had fun with, but she was a chore. Melania, I wasn't about that life. I wasn't about that life at all. I managed to beat her, yeah, but I wasn't about that life. Not one bit. Not one bit. But it did feel good when you beat her, though. It does feel good. It was just really like, I didn't feel good about it. My favorite, but next to Margit, was of course Radagon. That, oh man, when the music comes in, dog. When he comes in and you find that's the dude that was in like the first trailer or whatever that you see when you're anticipating Elden Ring, this man freaking hammering on the anvil and joint, then you realize you gotta fight this man, and then when he comes up with the freaking hammer, man, that was probably the most epic introduction to any boss for a long time. And then the music, shoot, bro. When you go into the beginning of the game and you start the game out and the title screen comes in, when you first hear the title screen, it's like just like blows up in your ears and you're like, whoa, this is powerful. This is dope. I'm getting into a fly game. That's what the music calls out. It just screams out, bro. You're going into an adventure. You're going into a dope adventure. It's going to be fly. It's going to be sick. We're going to be the Elden Lord. And then when you fight Radagon, 10 times better, bro. It gets you even more hyped up, bro. Radagon's music is like the dopest track, bro. They're like everything about that, the way he looks, like you've never seen him in the game. You hear him all throughout the game, but then you finally get to see him, and you got to fight this man. Oh, bro, dope. One of my favorite boss fights. Elden Beast. I didn't really like Elden Beast too much. Cause like it's tedious. It's not really fun. It's just tedious, you know. But you know, everybody done said that already. So I would say Margit. Oh, let's not forget about Godfrey. Godfrey was really dope too. I like the whole the beginning cutscene and how he had Morgott. When you defeat Morgott, he had him in his arms and everything. I thought that was dope because it's like this whole story, especially for Godfrey. If you look into the story, he's the first tarnished, right? And then he comes back and he sees his kingdom, bro. Everything's in shambles. My son is dead. For those of you that don't know, Godfrey is the first Elden Lord, consort to Queen Marika, and they had children. Godwyn, who is dead, Morgott, and Morgott's twin brother, Mogwyn, or Mog. Morgott and Mog are omens, so they were banished underground under the capital city. So when Godfrey shows up at the foot of the Erd tree, I thought that was such a powerful cutscene. And he comes back and sees Lindell in shambles. He sees his son dead. He sees like the Erd tree just burning on fire. Just everything is crazy. You know what I mean? And it's just like a powerful, knowing the lore of Godfrey conquering all of these lands for Queen Marika. And when he did everything that she wanted him to do, she took away his grace and then banished him from the lands between. And then he became the first tarnished. And then all of this happens. And just to find out when you come back to get an audience with the Elden Ring, once again, everything that you've worked for is just in shambles. Even though it was because of us. But to see all of that and then to know the story, I think Margit had a tragic story. Godfrey had a tragic story. Everybody had a tragic story. But That scene is one of my favorite scenes. Next to Radagon, I don't know how you can get doper than that. That's just me. The boss fights, in my opinion, they were pretty dope. I see a lot of people saying that a lot of Elden Ring's boss fight weren't as memorable and weren't as like impressionable like other boss fights. I don't agree with that. I think the Margit boss fights were dope. I think, like I said, Godfrey's boss fight was dope. Radagon's boss fight was top tier, in my opinion. Hey, who's gonna not remember Melania? Anyway. Which leads me to story. I am really into this story of Elden Ring. I'm really into the story. I think the story is peak FromSoft, in my opinion. I think it can rival all the other stories from the other FromSoft games. I think it's a great story, man. I enjoy it. I truly enjoy it. And there's so much lore and stuff, and there's so much cool things about the lands between and the lands outside the lands between and freaking Farum Azula. There's so much crazy lore about that, and the dragons, and there's so much going on. Of course, I bet there's going to be so much more in the DLC that we're going to figure out and discover and stuff like that, like about Godwyn and his dragons and how that started to come together. Shoot, in Plasuda Sax Onomatopoeia Sax, the secret dragon that you fight, he was like the Elden Lord before Elden Lords. There's so much about that we don't know. Hopefully we can figure that out in the DLC. Of that lore, all the lore is crazy. Which brings me to my point that I made earlier when I was talking about the open world, that I feel like that open world kind of distracts from the main story. I see a lot of people were saying that the story in Elden Ring seems a little bit loose. They're not. I don't. A lot of people say Elden Ring, the Elden Ring story isn't as good as like say Dark Souls or Bloodborne. I think it might be because that people were so immersed into the open world aspect of the game that they really didn't focus too much on the main story and the main areas that connect with what you're supposed to do as Tarnished to become the Elden Lord. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong. So that's why my second playthrough, I went straight through story. I went through the cities, explored the cities, and explored the areas that have to do with the story and the characters and the bosses and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think, in my opinion, that I think the story is really great. And also, like Dark Souls, I don't know. I think Dark Souls might have too much an advantage because it spans out through 3 games. And plus, so many people really love Dark Souls 1. And then Dark Souls 2, I guess, didn't make much of this connection to Dark Souls 1. But then Dark Souls 3 is more like of an ending to the whole thing. And to where, like, for example, like when you fight Soul Ascender and you fight his second phase, for those of you that like know, like when you fight the Soul Ascender, his fighting style is like basically all the fighting styles that you use in Dark Souls 3, symbolizing that all of these souls that kindled the flame are trying to fight you to defend the flame. You know what I'm saying? But then the second phase, he has the soul of Gwyn. And then you hear the pianos, the pling plongs, and like that's icing on the cake. You know what I'm saying? Elden Ring doesn't have that. I don't think people are giving Elden Ring much of a chance. Comparing like Dark Souls. Dark Souls, the story was told in the span of 3 games. We just had this game for about a month. We don't even have the DLC yet. Which also brings me to Bloodborne. A lot of people say that the story is good, but the DLC makes it one of the greatest games of all time. Elden Ring just came out a month ago. So we really can't do that. It's just no different when I talk about fighting games. People are like, when a new fighting game comes out, they always compare it to the last edition of the fighting game. And I'm like, bro, you can't compare a game that just came out to a fighting game that has been in development and has had patches and that had seasons for 6, 7, such and such a years. You know, that's just my opinion. So I feel like there's so much more of the story that they can tell through the DLCs. We just have to give the game a chance. Let the game marinate. Let's wait for the DLC, because I know DLC is coming, and I'm pretty sure like freaking FromSoft doesn't miss, in my opinion, with the DLCs and stuff. So like I said, Dark Souls has an advantage with the span of 3 games. You know what I'm saying? Bloodborne has an advantage with DLCs, because like I said, a lot of people say, a lot of hardcore fans say, with Bloodborne, the vanilla Bloodborne is good, but Bloodborne with DLC is top tier, moves it all the way up. Dark Souls 3, well, now I'm just repeating myself, but the moral, what I'm trying to say is, I say all that to say, we have to give this game a chance to develop. We just can't compare it to these games that have been in existence for years now. Elden Ring hasn't been in existence for a month, or at least we haven't been able to play the game for at least over a month. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta let them marinate. Give the developers a chance to do what they gotta do, make the game better, bring out DLC, expand the story a little bit more. And I'm pretty sure, since this is an open world game and it's already that huge, I'm pretty sure they're going to go far and beyond this DLC, whatever they're going to do, and make it so much better, expand storylines, tie things in a little bit tighter. Oh man, I know we're going to have something with Godwin's. Godwin's coming. We're going to fight the Prince of Death. He's coming. Mikola's coming. We already know he's coming. We got to figure out what that's about. Know what I mean? I'm pretty sure some stuff with the Ancient Dragons is coming too, because you can't have a FromSoft game without Ancient Dragons. More dragons are coming. You already know. There's so much that we can figure out with this DLC where it's coming. Let's just give it a chance to marinate first and see how the story goes when the DLC comes. Maybe when that happens, maybe we can start to compare and contrast. We gotta let the game live a little bit. You know what I mean? Let the game live. Combat, you already know. Elden Ring is basically like the combat. They have Dark Souls, Sekiro, freaking Bloodborne, like all mixed in one. It has new mechanics. The guard counter is a new addition, which is really cool. Like when you get into the latter stages of the game, you don't really use guard counter as much, but it's a really good mechanic for first time users. It has the you can jump. I went back and played Bloodborne, and that messed me all the way up. Trying to jump, trying to fight Orphan of Kos, trying to jump. You can't jump. But the jump mechanic was really cool, gave more opportunity of the new ways to play the game. That was really awesome. You can duck like you do in Sekiro. That's really cool. You can that also gives a new mechanic like the for combat. I think for if you like a strength build and use colossal swords or great swords, that's probably like the duck jab stab is like the fastest frame, so that's better advantage when you do PvP. So that's really cool. I always thought the mechanics were cool. The weapons are dope, man. Royal Greatsword is that's my go-to, because it, blade, freaking looking like the Berserk armor. And then you got the great sword, freaking Guts great sword from the Golden Age art, man. Side note, FromSoft games are probably one of the greatest Berserk fan fiction games of all time. just letting y'all know. But yeah, the weapons were dope, the weapon arts were dope, the games, the combat, I love the combat, I love the armor, I love all of that. The armor sets were really freaking dope looking. Like there's so much in the combat and all that you can utilize and make up and build and stuff. Like FromSoft, they don't miss with that. They don't miss with that at all. So But overall, man, I truly enjoyed Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is going to be game of the year for a very large amount of people. It's great. I can't stop playing it. I don't know when I'm going to stop playing it. I'm going to try and get as many people to play it as much as possible because it's a really awesome game. I feel like Elden Ring, I feel like the developers created Elden Ring, just for the next installment for their, next amount of games, but also it's like an ode to their last couple of games. I think Elden Ring is an ode to FromSoft. It's an ode to Dark Souls. It's an ode to Sekiro. It's an ode to Bloodborne, because it's an ode to Demon Souls. The main theme is like a remix. It's a remix to Demon Souls. They're trying to tell you something with that theme, because they started with Demon Souls. Demon Souls is like that theme is like really scary. It's really eerie. Like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, they're like really tragic worlds, and they're really like, dark and so much going on. But the beginning, like, it's just a remix, but it's more powerful. It gives you a glimmer of hope. The main thing just gives you the impression that we're doing something heroic. You know what I'm saying? And the whole main theme is an ode back to Demon Souls. The combat is an ode to, like I said, certain mechanics with Bloodborne, certain mechanics with Sekiro, even like to the lore, the ancient dragons. We got ancient dragons with Dark Souls. We got all that with Demon Souls. Like, so many elements of their past, their previous games that they put into this game that makes it as great as it is. It's not only just them utilizing everything they've done, but I believe that they're honoring their other games with Elden Ring. That's what I think. That's it. That's all I got. Hey, if you watch this, if you like it, if you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get my subscribers a little bit higher each video. Hit that bell. I got more content coming your way. Like I said in my last video, I'm trying to do a lot of variety just to see what sticks. So if you guys like this content, give it a like, and let's have a discussion in the comments. And that's it. It's your boy Von Doom. I'm out of here.